the thing about choosing the article. So I would say if it's just mostly about those people, then you're going to focus on those people, but also you want to read it close enough so that there, because it can't just talk about them, right? It has to at least mention. You're right that it's not going to really talk about all the different groups and develop everybody's motives or whatever. But it should mention things. It should mention the bank, or should mention some other one. So it should give you something to also to include, even though it's going to be mainly about whatever. So if it's mainly about students and taking out loans, that's good. Then what's the problem or what's the issue? Like, what's that article talking about? Oh, okay. They're getting older and I still have this debt that so have they, has the degree helped them so that they can pay back their debt, or it hasn't? So you're trying to figure out, like, from your article, you're trying to identify other, if there are other groups. I would say it's fine. Like, you can totally use that, but you do want to be aware, right, that it's about this. It's talking about one group, but any problems that they have, or issues that they have, or if they're the group that's being harmed, somebody's harming them. Like, there's some problem, and as long as you can sort of point to that, then that's good enough. You don't need an article that's going to fully develop everybody's motives and so on. Right. The other thing they want you to practice, although you're not really turning it in, is this idea of being like very engaged as a reader, right? They're trying to model this idea that when you read, you do these things, meaning you're asking questions, you're trying to point out assumptions or logic the person's using. Like, that's what the writer's reference section is about. So you're trying to be an engaged reader, and I guess that sort of goes a little bit to what Tammy said, meaning, like, even if they're not explicitly talking about different groups, you're trying to tease out different ideas that might exist, like assumptions that people are making when they're making their arguments. Questions that occur to you, like maybe they skipped over something or they're not really addressing something. This is a critical thinking exercise. So they're trying to get you to really spend time, and that's what this example is about that I'm sort of showing, right? Meaning, you're just, and it doesn't, I mean, the only way that I can say this in real life, like the way it helps, is that you don't really care about what you're writing on the side. They're just thoughts that occur to you, and you're jotting them down, right? Like, it's not like, you're not in a situation of like giving a right answer or a wrong answer. You're just in the situation of, I'm reading it, and sometimes when you write little things down, it helps you process the information, which I can attest to. That part is, in my mind anyway, it's totally true. It helps me a great deal if I'm reading stuff and I jot just a few words down about it. That's what they're trying to get people to do. Again, the point of this is sort of like my idea for a class like this in general, which is you're improving your thought process, right? You're trying to practice this process of thinking. This is a very explicit way to do this. You may not, I mean, people don't do this probably, forever, although some people probably do it forever. But you're just practicing this. You're practicing looking at each sentence and trying to tease out something, right? Trying and just jotting it down, right? So the title explains her position. This assumes this is a thing to be concerned about. So it could be wrong or whatever. You could just be, writing, but it helps you process. It helps your mind sort of tune into things, so that you can start to recognize, when faulty assumptions are being made. Like, so if someone's making an argument and their assumption is incorrect. But this whole concept here is that you're trying to identify statements where people, mostly I'm looking for places where it sounds like people are drawing conclusions, right? And so that I can so I can be like, all right, this is a conclusion, like, but are they proving it, or they're just sort of saying it? Like this example here. So one glaring reason is that we've become a nation of hyper consumers. Like, all right, says you, the writer, but well, how do I know that? Is that so this person, like, they write true, question mark? Just because, like, all right, that's a pretty big statement, and how do you, I'm supposed to trust you or whatever. It's just that's the critical thinking. You're sort of like going through and like pointing out whether that ends up mattering or not. You know, not a huge point. But anyway, so that's what the writer's reference is doing to do, and it's a worthy exercise to do. So if you have your article, you're reading through your article as you read, you're just jotting stuff down. That's all. I mean, no one's it's not an official assignment as far as I'm concerned, but or no anyway. But that's what the whole theory is, at least for the writer's reference part of this week. And just you write stuff again. You could be completely wrong or misinterpreting it or whatever, but that's the way you train your mind to do this automatically. And in my mind, the idea is that you practice this very explicitly by writing words and so on, and then eventually you're reading, an opinion piece, and your mind's doing it automatically. It's questioning this, it's looking for evidence for that, and so on. And that's what they believe that one of the values of the course is, which I agree with. But right, and then it's about using quotes, but we can do that once we have sort of a draft going.